Welcome to Salisbury University on the Air, a program highlighting the activities and people of the campus. I'm your host, Jason Rhodes. Salisbury University is much more than the 200 or so acres of campus around Route 13 in Salisbury. SU also maintains a number of academic outreach facilities elsewhere in the region and the state. One of those outposts is the Ward Museum of Wildfowl Art in Salisbury. Here to discuss some of the museum's offerings and the ways that staff has adjusted to COVID-19 concerns and restrictions is the museum's executive director, Kristen Sullivan. Kristen, thank you for joining us in our virtual format.
Sure, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you.
Now first, tell us a little about the Ward Museum, when it was established, and for those who haven't been there, where is it located?
Sure, so the Ward Museum was actually opened first in 1975 in Holloway Hall at Salisbury University, so we have a long relationship with the university. It is run and staffed by the Ward Foundation, which was established in 1968 to promote and continue the tradition of wildfowl carving. So these are antique hunting decoys, modern wildfowl art, everything in between. And now we've grown to really become a museum that's sort of at the intersection of art, nature, and history or tradition.
The museum began as an outreach of the Ward Foundation, as you mentioned, which was established more than 50 years ago to spotlight and preserve the carving traditions of Lynn and Steve Ward, collectively known as the Ward Brothers. Who were they?
So the Ward Brothers were brothers in Crisfield, Maryland, so that's just down the shore from us. We are here in Salisbury, Maryland, but they were on the Chesapeake Bay in Crisfield, and they were actually barbers. And in their spare time, in between cutting hair, they would start carving decoys to go hunting with. So these were actually used to bring food in for their families, potentially to sell some of the ducks to make money to buy food for their families. But they started carving in between other things. And then the carving really became more of what they relied on for their livelihoods. It became what they were known for, really. And they were two of the people who are recognized as really bringing this from a utilitarian sort of art form or craft used for hunting, for bringing in live ducks, to an art form to something that you would put on your mantle or to showcase in a museum. And they were really innovative in their techniques, in their painting work, and just a lot of different areas of both sculpture and fine painting, but on these hunting decoys. So they're remarkable individuals that were Eastern Shore boys, although they were given honorary doctorates by Salisbury State College. So so they also have a long history of relationship with SU.
Are some of their works still on display at the museum?
Absolutely. We have a whole gallery dedicated to the Ward Brothers. So we've got Ward Brothers decoys throughout the museum, and so, as well as paintings, poems. We have sound bites of them. They were also in a barbershop quartet. So we have recordings of them singing, of them reading poetry. They did a lot of stuff, and we're honored to be able to care for that legacy and to continue to promote that legacy and invite people to come and check them out and learn about them here at the museum.
How is the Ward Museum associated with SU?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we first opened in Holloway Hall in 1975 and had a display there until we sort of outgrew that space. And then the museum opened up in its current location on Shoemaker Pond in 1992. So we are more or less neighbors with the zoo in Salisbury, so away from the campus. But in 2000, we became an affiliated foundation of Salisbury University. So the Ward Museum became affiliated with SU. And SU today actually owns the building and grounds and our permanent collection, and then the Ward Foundation runs the museum on behalf. So we have a great relationship with Salisbury University, and we're excited to be able to work sometimes with faculty who bring students here. We often have student interns. We have graduate assistants that work in our departments. So hopefully we're a mutually beneficial partner with Salisbury University, and we're happy to be so.
Through its many exhibits and activities, the museum provides educational experiences for those who visit. What have you done to transfer those experiences to a virtual setting?
Oh man, what a last few months it's been. So we closed our doors on March 13th, and this was right before what was to be our 50th annual Ward World Championship, which is a major wildfowl art competition in Ocean City we have each year. We were in the middle of a season of field trips. We have instances of contact with over 20,000 students annually. You know, there's a lot that we do in person, and we had to adjust. We, just like everybody else, we had to pivot. And so we started doing some virtual tours of the galleries. Our chairman of the board, Rich Smoker, who's also a National Heritage Fellow by the National Endowment for the Arts, he's been coming in and doing some tours through our galleries that we're putting on social media and on our website. Our education department has created some virtual lesson plans and videos to accompany those, so that parents and other caregivers with young ones at home can do some science experiments and crafts and listen to stories. We have been showcasing interviews and studio tours with artists from all over the country, and actually a few international carvers and artists as well. And we're transitioning some of our major events and programming. So actually this weekend, today is July 9th, yes. We have our Art and Nature Photo Festival online. So yesterday was the last day to submit online, but it's the first time we're doing a fully virtual competition. And I'm thrilled we have had more entries into that than we ever had in the 10-year history of the competition in person. So we are pivoting and evolving, and I hope actually still meeting some of the needs and expectations of our communities and stakeholders.
It's amazing how everybody continues to adapt.
Yes.
Are there any other
turning upside down, but we've had to, and it's turning out to be good. There's a lot of opportunity despite the challenges.
Are there any other initiatives the museum is taking to extend its outreach online?
Sure. Well, we are now looking at, the fall season of field trips, and are likely going to be doing some virtual components of those. We are going to be doing a hybrid in-person and online folk life festival on August 8th. Our Delmarvelous Festival was to come back after a brief hiatus, and that will be some online components like interviews and arts demonstrations with traditional artists and culture bearers in the region online. And then we're going to have an in-person decoy contest called the Chesapeake Challenge that really is traditional hunting style decoys. So a hybrid event there. We are now looking into creating an interactive virtual tour exhibit, or interactive virtual tours online. So a new website to accompany our current website. So that's something we're looking to for the future, but we're starting to plan for now. And I just really think that again, despite all the challenges of the last few months, this has caused us to go, okay, well, what else can we do? And I think we're finding some new, interesting, innovative ways to broaden our outreach. So it's kind of exciting.
Going back to the Delmarvelous Festival for a second, can you give us some background on that and tell us what viewers can expect?
Yeah, so the history of that was actually, it started as a really big exhibit opening, and this was in 2015. And the exhibit was the Art of Sporting and Playing on Delmarva, and actually had the privilege of being the curator for that at the time. And so to kick it off, we had a festival that had, pumpkin chunkin' and watermelon seed spitting, and Chincoteague ponies were here, and Smith Island cake making demonstrations. So sort of all the fun, traditional festival and cultural tradition stuff from Delmarva. We had a little bit of a lot of that happening in that one-day festival, and it was success enough that the museum decided to continue to do that. So we had it for a few years and then hit pause while the National Folk Festival was ramping up, because the museum has been a partner with the National Folk Festival and helping in some of its folk life offerings. So it's been on hold, and then just by popular demand, we decided to bring it back this year. Unfortunately, we then had to close. So we're going, okay, so we're bringing back this festival, but what the heck does that mean for it? So we decided to continue to do some aspects of it. So we will have a decoy carving contest with live judging. We'll also stream the live judging of that on social media, on YouTube, so folks can watch their pieces be judged if they mailed them in or drop them off. And then we'll have pre-recorded interviews and live interviews and arts demonstrations with some different tradition bearers on Saturday the 18th, or the 8th, Saturday, August 8th.
Are there plans to continue virtual events through the museum this fall as well? I
think so. We're exploring options right now, but I just don't believe that it's safe, to have folks congregating in the museum right now. I think we will continue to do virtual events for the near future. and continue to, monitor the situation and follow the guidance and advice of the CDC and the state and Salisbury University and so forth. But we've had some good response to some of our virtual programming. So I'm excited to continue that. And we're looking right now actually at doing something on August 20th with Dr. Joan Gaither. She is an artist and educator who is really well known and was actually recognized with the Maryland Heritage Award a few years ago for doing documentary story quilts. So when you think quilts, don't think of a quilt that you put on your bed. These are huge, 10 foot by 12 foot multimedia artworks that tell the story of individuals' lives or of communities, and oftentimes groups of communities come together to create these quilts. So we're going to be having an exhibit of Dr. Gaither's work. It was supposed to be in this summer. Of course, that got upended a little bit, but it'll be going in late fall. But Dr. Gaither's going to be doing a talk on August 20th. We're still working on the time, so I'll let you know when we have a time on that, but I believe it's going to be around 7 o'clock in the evening. And she'll be talking about the intersection of social justice and craft, which is a lot of what she does through her artwork. So I think that maybe is what we're going to be working toward, is more artist talks, demonstrations, some online classes, things like that. So we're quickly putting together some offerings for the fall and the winter, for sure.
I understand the museum is also studying how people on the Eastern Shore are handling the COVID-19 pandemic as part of its Lower Shore Traditions Folk Life program. Will those findings be available to the public?
Yes, and thank you for reminding me. There's so much. This is the good thing. There's so much that we're doing new. I'm forgetting things. We have a Lower Shore Traditions program here, which has been going on since 2002. It's a folk life program, meaning we study the cultural traditions, the traditional art, food ways, traditional occupations, things like that of folks on the Lower Eastern Shore. And we do this in partnership with the Maryland State Arts Council's program, Maryland Traditions. And in that role, we are actually the Folk Life Center for Maryland Traditions on the Lower Eastern Shore. So we have a special archive of interviews and documentary photography and things that folks have done over the years. Our staff folklorist has done over the years for that program. But now we're focusing our effort in part on learning about how people are continuing cultural traditions or keeping community connected during the pandemic. How they're putting their own classes or meetups or whatever online, or whatever they're doing to keep communities connected. So that will absolutely be made available to the public through a publicly accessible archive, but we're going to be probably putting that into an exhibit in the future and releasing portions of it online in the meantime. And that intersects well with another project that we're doing right now in collaboration with the National Folk Festival, the National Council for the Traditional Arts, where we are conducting interviews to learn about some of the individuals who took part in the 2018 National Folk Festival, which focused largely on Chesapeake traditions. And we are releasing a new video every week and a radio segment on Delmarva Public Media every Thursday this summer in a 10-week series called Chesapeake Traditions Today. So our first week, we highlighted some of the cultural traditions and heritage of the Nassau-Wawash Band of Indians by talking with Chief Donna Wolfmother Abbott. Just this morning, we released one about skipjacks and talked to Captain Stoney Whitelock and Captain Kermit Travers in that video. And we'll be talking to all sorts of different folks who are the tradition bearers of this region through that series. So lots of cool stuff going on in the way of folk life in the Ward Museum this summer.
And that all sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the Ward Museum hosts many events, school field trips, walk-in visitors. Have you missed having these groups at the museum?
Yes, absolutely. There is nothing like seeing kids or even adults, come in and just go, wow, and get blown away because they didn't, realize maybe about this art form that this existed, or how powerful, how inspirational it can be. And we absolutely miss interacting with those people and with our volunteers. And I miss staff, everybody. It's hard to be away from people. Everybody's dealing with that. So we really look forward to getting folks back together as soon as we can, but we need to do so as safely as possible.
And for anybody who wants more information about the museum or its virtual offerings, is there a website they can visit?
Absolutely. Please visit us at wardmuseum.org. We are also on social media at Ward Museum on Facebook and Instagram.
Kristen, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
As we continue working to slow the spread of COVID-19, organizations and businesses are discovering new ways to serve the public. It sounds like the Ward Museum is doing a fantastic job in that regard, and I know you're looking forward to once again welcoming the public back to the physical museum as soon as safely possible.
Yeah, we are really looking forward to having folks back as soon as we can. We're hopeful for late July. There will, of course, be some, regulations. Folks will have to wear masks, that sort of thing, but we'll be able to get folks back into the galleries, into the gift shops to support the creative economy and the artists that sell their work there, and to enjoy the beautiful grounds of the Ward Museum. We can't wait to see folks again.
For organizations and businesses that have begun phased reopenings to the public, SU offers free printable safety signage available on the university's COVID-19 webpage. For more information, visit salisbury.edu/coronavirus. Thanks again to our guest, Kristen Sullivan, Executive Director of the Ward Museum of Wildfowl Art. I'm Jason Rhodes, and this has been Salisbury University on the Air. Thank you for watching.